everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Retro Gamers Podcast. Thank you very much for listening, downloading, watching, doing whatever you do with this show. Larry here.
And Anthony here.
On Ant.
Not much, just it's another beautiful autumn day in California.
We officially in fall now at this point?
I think yesterday, Friday was the first day of
21st,
fall.
right? That's what I thought. Everyone kept saying the 22nd.
No, I thought it was the 21st.
I thought it was the 20th. I don't know. All I know is that I heard rumors it was supposed to snow here in New York this weekend, so I don't know what's going on.
You know, we had the same rumors out here?
That I don't believe. That was the last time it snowed in California.
Actually, funny enough, the last time it snowed in California, at least Los Angeles, was the first year I moved here. Actually, the first month. It was like I brought it with me. There was there was a dusting on the Pacific Coast Highway, and they had to close it down because they didn't know what to do.
I love it. That happened like in Atlanta.
Yeah. Well, cities that aren't used to getting snow can't do anything with it. But I'm not kidding you. It was a literal dusting, and they shut freeways.
Oh well. Hopefully it won't snow by you. I'm praying for the snow because I love the winter. So this body is designed for cold. So.
Yes, I miss the winter, but my body is no longer designed for the winter. So
you've been acclimated.
Acclimated.
There we go.
Acclimated. Yes, I have acclimated to Southern California weather.
Excellent. Good for you.
Shame on me.
So we took a little week off only because with the last two episodes when we recorded with Frank, our hybrid episode with the better half, we just kept talking, and it was a fun time. I gotta say it was a good time recording.
Oh yeah, I had a blast, and a special thank you to Frank for and of course the Better Half podcast for agreeing to do the crossover or the hybrid episode. It was a lot of fun, and we should do that again.
Oh, absolutely. Down the road, we'll definitely do it. We'll merge all the shows, and it'll be like a weird kind of like those old like cartoons that aired on like 5 different channels.
Yes.
Like, about drugs and alcohol and.
Well, we'll do a special. We'll do like a special roundtable with Better Half, Yin and the Yang.
It'll be like an old NPR episode.
Yeah, and with the way that we talk, it'll be like 6 hours long.
Oh, forget about it. That's all we do. Well, it'll be that 5 hours Frank and then 1 hour everybody else.
Yeah, pretty much. But just a quick thing to touch on with that Better Half hybrid and everything like that. I just wanted to do a quick follow up on something we discussed last week, and it had to do with Frank's guest list questions.
Oh, okay.
And he had given me a really good idea, and it's not video game related, so I'll be brief. But one of the questions that he asked on his guest list was if there was an item that you can go back in time and get. What would it be? And my response was I would go back in time to get my dad's comic book collection that disappeared from his mom's basement. Mm-hmm. And I had told you guys last week that that I had a list. My dad kept lists of things he collected, and Frank had suggested he's like why don't you go back to the list and start collecting the ones that he had. So I just wanted to share really quickly that. That I have right here the list of my dad's. As that falls out. So yeah, it's kind of old, but my dad's.
Oh, that's actually your father's?
This is actually my father's notebook.
Oh wow!
And apparently him and his friend Jordan. I don't know who Jordan was, but he had a friend Jordan, and they were cataloging what comic books they had. The red X's were Jordan's, the blue X's were my dad's. So, and I have, I just have like a full notebook full of stuff.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So, challenge accepted.
Wow.
And not so much challenge accepted, but no, I think Frank hit on a great idea because it's something I think that would mean a lot to me to do.
Absolutely.
It will also cost me a ton of money because
Absolutely.
On this page specifically, you'll see the Avengers numbers 1 through 15.
Oh dear.
So my wallet's in trouble, but I think I'm gonna actually start working on this list.
Okay,
which is cool. So thank you, Frank.
Absolutely, and even if you don't get that, just the fact that never knew you had that's really cool. So definitely, if anything.
Well,
if nothing else, I should.
It's always cool to hang on to memories.
Absolutely.
So that's that.
Yes. And speaking of memories, if I may,
there's a cat invading.
Oh, what is going on? That I'm tired of having to send royalties to that cat. Honestly,
she just I don't know. Whenever I start, come here. Whenever we start recording, she jumps up on the desk.
There's only so much Fancy Feast that we have in the budget.
I know, and I've offered her everything I could. But
and look how thrilled, like everyone else who appears on podcasts, look how thrilled she is.
She's very happy about it.
Good
right?
Lord.
Are you happy? Yeah, she's
I will
happy.
Kill each and every one of you in your sleep.
There was an article I read once that said if cats were bigger, they would kill us.
Oh, I absolutely. Are you kidding me?
So
absolutely,
it's good to know.
Yes, very much. So talking about first thing we got, with the week off that we had, and it's funny, I feel like the last time something like this came about, we took a week off, and then all of a sudden, like, this major news popped up out of nowhere, originally with the NES Classic.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, and we took a week off, and out of nowhere, Nintendo just dropped this bomb that they were releasing the NES Classic. So a few days ago, to kind of give you my routine when I wake up in the morning, literally after my alarm goes off, the first thing I do is go on my cell phone just to check all the, just updates and everything that's appeared. And one thing that stood out that just got me out of bed to go to my computer to immediately start pre-ordering was the fact that Sony themselves have officially announced a PlayStation Classic.
Yeah, and when conversely, I didn't see it when I first woke up, even though I'm sure the news probably broke since I'm 3 hours behind. But when I got to work that morning, and I first thing I do is I get my tea and I check the news, and I saw it sitting there, and I'm like, oh, here we go. I was like, Sony's throwing their hat in the ring. Like everybody you can think of now is doing one. So
it's the new thing. It's new, and I oh, excuse me, I'm going to apologize in advance. As much as I'm over my pneumonia, I now have a cold. I think there's still, and this is my opinion, with these classics, NES, SNES, the PlayStation, the Commodore 64, the Neo Geo, everything, they're still trying to reach out to those fans who had the systems back in the day, but now are like, I remember that.
Right.
Like, the hardcore fans are there, and as we learned with the NES Classic, you have to cater to the hardcore fans, because Nintendo wasn't banking on them buying the Classic.
No, they were going after the cat. Well, I mean, not casual fans, but the lapsed fans, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They were going after them, and you know what? It worked. They did get some of the lapsed fans back, but then they also got the diehards, which is why it was in so much demand. So, and they remedied that with the SNES Classic, because that one was readily available at all points. Case in point, we bought, between the two of us, 11 of them. Which, by the way, will not happen.
Bad for Frank.
Yeah, and poor Frank.
You didn't say a word to me.
Well, there's nothing you can do about that. But at least now. But for the Sony PlayStation Classic, I'm saying this right now, and I'm going on record. I'm buying one.
Oh yeah,
that's
me too.
it.
Uno mas.
That's it.
That's it.
One and done.
Just one and done. Technically, I had two on order, but I canceled one of them, which I'll explain in a moment.
Okay.
But one and one only. So yeah, I think again, Sony is looking to the, like you said, the lapsed game players who had a PlayStation back in the day, but at the same time, yes, us hardcore collectors are going to want this as well. But I also think the mistakes of the past with Nintendo is going to help Sony in the future. The fact that we're at this time of recording, how many days into it, and I was still able to order one last night.
That's true. Well, let's see. Did they announce it on Tuesday or Wednesday? I'm trying to remember.
I want to
18th or 19th, I think it was.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, it was somewhere around there. And you know what? It sold out really quickly on Amazon. The pre-orders.
I haven't even seen it on Amazon.
Yeah, it's actually been on Amazon twice. And it sold out both times on Amazon. And it sold out on, I believe, Walmart and one other site.
Best.
And Best Buy.
I think Because when I went on Best Buy the other day, it wasn't available.
Yeah, and as of yesterday, it was still available at. And when I say yesterday, I mean Friday the 21st. It was still available at Target and GameStop, and the Target one wasn't available in the beginning, like the first day. Like that got added on, I think, on the 20th.
Yeah, I think once, because Target, GameStop is GameStop.
Yes.
They're games, so of course they're going to throw it up there right away. Target, yeah, they probably waited a little bit or waited for their marketing or something. That day when I woke up, I went and I pre-ordered it on GameStop right away. And I remember I was actually having some trouble, kind of like with the original, was it the NES? I think probably with the original NES Classic, where it's in my cart, I go to pay, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's sold out. Mm-hmm. So, but I kept trying, and then I finally got through, and I got an email confirmation saying, you got it. I'm like, sweet. But I kind of want to get it on Amazon. A, free shipping. B, I can save a little money, with my card. So what I did was, and I still wasn't finding it on Amazon, I went to Target. And Target, I pre-ordered it on Target. So I was able to get it through Target.com with the free shipping, with my Target card. So I saved 5% as well.
Cool, $5 off.
Exactly. And all right, I probably will get it a few days after the release, which I can deal with. Mm-hmm. And then I went back and canceled it on GameStop. But just the fact that I was able to do that like 3 or 4 days after it was released is what makes me feel Sony is going to mass market the heck out of this thing.
Yeah. Well, and you also, I was going to say, you also got to remember that the Sony PlayStation was the first system in console history to sell over 100 million units. So they've, the nostalgia factor on that one is probably going to equal, if not eclipse, that of the NES. Because that's the NES is one thing because we're going back to the 80s. I mean, Sony now, you're talking a good solid, almost 10 years into the video game craze once, when Nintendo made it popular. So you had a lot more fans buying it, a lot more people buying it. So yeah, I really do think that there's an opportunity here for them to just sell more than Nintendo did.
And I feel like also, we're what, two years removed from the NES Classic at this point, being
2 years
released
in November. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for a lot of dare I even say, not maybe next generation, like after us, but I feel like the PlayStation was for a lot of people, their first console.
Yes.
In today's day and age. So I think it's going to hit them as well, kind of like how the NES Classic hit us as a first system. So let's get to the specifics here. It's going to drop December 3rd for $99. So 20 games, 5. Here's the weird thing. Only 5 have been announced.
Yes.
Which then I'm going to ask you to kind of maybe think about this for a moment, then answer in a moment later. Like, is it because they don't have the other 15, or because they just kind of want to wait for the anticipation? With that being said, the $99 price range for $20. Well, actually, you know what? I was comparing it to the NES Classic, but they had 30 games. But the SNES had 20 games. That was more money. So actually, maybe $100 isn't going to be. Actually, $100 is not bad for this thing. 2 controllers, which I think are USB.
Really?
I think when I saw the front of the PlayStation Classic, unless it just looked different, I could have sworn it was USB.
Yeah.
But don't hold me to that one.
I don't know. I mean, if it's USB, it opens it up to being to having any kind of controllers.
Exactly.
I did read that the AC adapter for it is going to be like a standard cell phone adapter. It won't be like the original PlayStation console.
Oh yeah, that's the new thing as well. I mean, we're in 2018. Almost everything can run off of USB at this point.
Right.
So yeah, it's going to have. So each unit will come with an HDMI cable, as they all are, a USB cable, which will power the system, 2 controllers, which is the reason for the higher price, and they're the original PlayStation. It's not the DualShock; it's the original PS1 controllers,
which I'm all for. I like those controllers.
$100 US, $130 Canada, and yeah, it's going to be big time for come December 3rd, or well, like 5 days later when I finally get it.
Yeah, same with me. But yeah, and the other thing to keep in mind that they also did say that there will not be downloadable content. They won't be adding games to this. It's just going to be the straight 20 that they put on there.
Yep. And again, that goes in conjunction with all the other minis, all the other classics.
Yes.
The idea is you buy it, you plug it in, you're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mind. That doesn't bother me.
No, it's fine. I mean, because when you think about it, I mean, if you buy it for $100, you're getting 20 games, so that's like $5 a game.
Yep.
So.
And with the 5 games already announced, already $5 each is a steal.
Yes, which is true. So do you want to run through that really quickly?
Why not? So right now, I'm going to go probably a little out of order than how you have it on the list, just for anticipation purposes.
Go right ahead.
Let's start with Jumping Flash, which it's a game I'm not familiar with on the PlayStation. I feel like it's
neither am I. Yeah, that's one of those games where when I looked at the list, that was the one I saw on it, and I'm like, what's that?
Yeah. Ridge Racer Type 4. Great series. Odd, they're going with not the first one, which is kind of a thing that they're doing here, not necessarily the first in the series of classic games. Wild Arms, which is a classic.
Yes.
Tekken 3. Again, not going with the first one, not even going with the second one, but the third one was definitive.
Well, and that's what it is. I feel like they're going with sequels here because those are the ones that have more characters in it, more levels and things like that, as opposed to the originals.
I also feel like maybe they're going with their best sellers.
Could be that too.
Because with the fifth title so far announced, Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, I mean that one's a no-brainer. I mean you have to include that. Now, granted, a month and a half later, Final Fantasy VII is coming out on the PlayStation 4, completely remastered. But you can't deny that Final Fantasy VII is one of the staples of the Sony PlayStation. And
absolutely.
It was my favorite game on the PlayStation.
Yeah,
hands down.
Absolutely. And I mean, not only that, but Final Fantasy VII, the original Final Fantasy VII, is going to be released on the Switch, on the PS, the Xbox One.
Yeah,
like it was announced just very quick, like 9 historical Final Fantasy games are being released on all these systems. But 5 big games, nevertheless, for this tiny system, which again, 45% smaller than the original. The
I need like a shelf. I need a shelf just for the minis at this point.
Well, luckily you don't need a big shelf, so that's good.
Which is good, yes.
But of 5 games out of 20 released, it's going to make you wonder, what will the other 15 be?
That is true. I mean, and to answer your question from earlier, or what you were saying earlier,
yes.
I don't know if it's necessary. It's one of two things. Either they're holding the game releases, like the other game releases, for dramatic effect. In other words, like as maybe they will announce 5 at a time to make it sound cooler, or once the pre-orders sell out, if more pre-orders become available, then they announce more titles.
Okay,
something like that. It's either that, or it's entirely possible that they may still be finalizing licensing deals with third parties, so they can figure out which games to put on it. Because again, Sony was a system that relied heavily on third-party developers.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking as well.
Yeah, and that and that's going to cost money. So
no, absolutely. Which I think that third-party situation may be a slight downfall for something else that we'll talk about later. But you're right, Sony. But also, Sony has such a good rapport and such a good relationship with third parties. I don't think it's going to be a problem for them to get those third parties onto the system.
Oh yeah, no, I agree completely. I don't think they're going to have much of an issue.
So with that being said, we me and Anthony came up, and I'm sure we have a lot of crossovers.
Oh, there's no question we're gonna.
We each came up with what we think the other 15 should be. I had a tough time. I mean, I have it, but I had a tough time coming up with the list because I was thinking of A, those rights, B, some games, even the musical rights and stuff. Working in Hollywood, sometimes it's the musical rights are like the worst rights to get a hold of.
Yeah, no, those are headaches. I've gone through a lot of headaches at work, at different jobs too. With just getting music clearance, it's hell. It can be hell.
So I don't know if you did this with your list, but on my list, I kind of just waived all that. I'm just like, you know what? Let's assume they can get everything available, and the 15 I think would be on not even games I'm happy about, or
right.
Let me rephrase that. Games that I'm not crazy about,
right?
But what I think will be on there.
Yep, and I did the same. Well, and what was funny for me is that I was trying, when I came up with my list, I was surprised with how easily I came up with my list. Like,
really, I struggled with the last 5.
I did not. Now, granted, I was looking through a list of all PlayStation games ever released. I came up with like the first 10 off the top of my head. And then, but I was reviewing a list the whole time because I'm like, it'll be easier if I just read through a list. And thank you to Game Dude for having your lists online. Game Dude is the video game store here that I shop at, or the used video game store that I shop at. And they have all their lists online, so it was just easy to go through. So, and the other 5 that I added, like they just hit me really fast. So
okay, and the list I used, I did look at like the top selling PlayStation games, and I also thought, because maybe it's easier for them at this point, what PS1 games are already available from the PS3, because you were able to download.
Yeah, see, and I thought about that too, because I went back and forth on the sense of like, if they're already available like on PS3 and the PS4 network, should they be available on the Classic? I was struggling with that because it's like it's like purchasing it again and again and again, which you do with Nintendo.
I've bought Super Mario Brothers about 7 times already.
Exactly, but but I also I kind of weighed that a little bit when I came up with my list.
So did I, and then we'll get into the list right after this. Here's why I feel like they could go with just those games alone, because a $500 PS4, well, not even, let's say a $200, $300 PS3 at this point, versus a $100 PS1 Classic. So
true.
With that being said, let's get into the list. And Ann, how about you do the honors? I guess we'll just kind of go back and forth.
Yeah, let's go back and forth, and we'll see where we overlap.
Yeah, let's do. You want to do 5? I'll do 5, and
no, let's just go back and forth. Let's play tennis, 1 for 1.
Actually, I'll talk about that later. I tried a tennis game for the first time, and
I'm
terrible.
We will talk about that later. So I'm going to start now. The first 2 that I have on my list, I actually did an or option. It would be one or the other, because with some of them I wound up going genre. Like I don't like it. Like I don't want to see an overabundance of one genre on the system. So for this one, I went with, and these are classics just for the sense of like these started franchises for these games, and it's in the racing category. So I went with either Gran Turismo or Need for Speed.
I didn't even think of Need for Speed.
One of those two, and it could be the original. It could be like the best selling of them, or the third or the fourth one, whichever ones came out for PlayStation. But I think you have to have a really solid racer represented, and those are the 2 definitive series that were on PlayStation.
Absolutely. I had Gran Turismo on mine, so we're good to go there. I didn't even think of Need for Speed, to be honest with you. That excuse me. That would be a good one to put on there.
Yes, no question. Sorry, hold on. My cat's eating a wire.
Oh boy.
It'll be fun until he gets electrocuted.
So I'm the first one on my list, which was the first game that popped into my mind, and of course I just bought this like a month ago.
Of course.
Tomb Raider.
Yep, on my I have that on my list as well. Tomb Raider and Tomb Raider 1, which again, there were so many games that became successful franchises on the PlayStation. I feel like you have to go back and pay homage to those originals. Tomb Raider's definitely one of them.
Yep, and just a note, I had Gran Turismo on my list as well. So
yes, all right.
Okay.
So next on my list, and I didn't put my list in any particular order.
Yeah, neither did I, to be honest.
So then I went to I wound up going to this is another or option. I went to the fighting genre because there were some amazing fighters on there, and I settled on and you could have both of these on there, but I'd rather just have one because there are much more important games in my.
And you already have Tekken on there, Tekken 3.
And Tekken 3 is already on there. So either Street Fighter Alpha
Ooh.
or Mortal Kombat Trilogy.
You know, I don't. It's funny. I didn't put either one of them on my list, but I would probably go Mortal Kombat Trilogy because Street Fighter's already had 2 collections out. Not even the one collection recently, and Ultra Street Fighter 2 a couple years ago.
Well, and they're also about to have an arcade machine come out next on the 25th.
True. So that's why I would probably lean towards Mortal Kombat Trilogy.
Mm-hmm. And even that I had a toss-up with between Mortal Kombat Trilogy and Mortal Kombat 4, which was the first 3D Mortal Kombat. But I feel like Trilogy best encapsulates the Mortal Kombat franchise because it was the last 2D one, but it was also the one that had every single character in it. Oh, every character, every level. So I felt like that would be a good representation on the PlayStation Classic.
Totally. A game that I feel maybe not define the PlayStation, but just another game that you can't not think of this game when you think of PlayStation, and I'm talking about Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, that one's definitely on my list.
I mean,
arguably the best game ever.
Yes.
On the PlayStation.
Best PlayStation game, best soundtrack in my opinion.
The soundtrack was amazing.
There was just nothing wrong with the game in my opinion. So.
No, I agree. I mean, that was to me that was like a perfect game.
Yep.
And there are very few. So yeah, that's a must. Definitely a must on there. If it's not on there, I'll be super shocked. Moving on to a game that I actually own. I own the original one on the PlayStation 1. I have yet to play it because it's a beast of a game. And it's also not a sequel, but it's also part of a franchise of one of the best RPGs I've ever played in my life, and a recent gift that you gave me. So Chrono Cross, which again, it was a massive RPG on the PlayStation. And one of the main reasons why I picked it also is because Chrono Trigger, arguably one of the greatest games of all time. Chrono Cross, I felt like was a suitable successor for it. Up to 45 characters in the game that you can play.
Good Lord.
In your party, not all at once, obviously, but there were 45 characters that you can find and add to your party, and multiple endings, which just ups the replay value. So. To me, that's a perfect game to have on there because you can go back and play it over and over again just to try and capture all the endings.
Which is basically the reason for all the endings. So,
replay
good
value.
Stuff there. Absolutely. The next one on my list, which again just came out recently with kind of like a best of or remastering, but probably one of the first go-to mascots for the PlayStation. I'm going to say Crash Bandicoot.
That's on my one. Nope, that's on my list too. The first Crash Bandicoot. Yep. Yeah, he was he kind of became their. I mean, I don't think he was as popular, but he kind of became their Sonic, basically, their Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes.
Which was cool, and he was uber popular. I just don't think he ever hit that. I don't know I want to say the quote unquote legend status that a Mario and Sonic have.
No. I mean, he's close. He's close, but he's not on that level.
Yeah, exactly. I would put I would almost argue that Lara Croft is right there with him.
Okay. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I agree. There needs to be a Crash Bandicoot on there. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the original, I think there were 3 on the PlayStation, and then there was the kart racing game.
Yeah. So he's got his, and it was weird. I always found that weird that for moving forward, I guess is the only way I can explain it. It was, I always found the gameplay weird, but again, classic game. So.
Exactly.
Yep. So what do you got now?
I have a weird one, okay. and this is one that won't make it onto the PlayStation Classic. I can almost guarantee it won't make it, and it's a personal choice. But I felt like there needed to be a puzzle game represented.
I think I know which one you're gonna say,
and I know you know it because I played this game ad nauseum. And I still own it, but I was trying to look for a puzzle game that fit, and I wanted to step away from the obvious choice, which would be like Tetris, because there were Tetris games on the PlayStation. There was, I think it was called Tetris Plus.
Yeah, I didn't feel Tetris was strong on the system.
No, I didn't think so either. So then I was trying to find another puzzle game that really worked. But the puzzle game that I loved on the Sony PlayStation, that to this day I'll still sit down and play, is Devil Dice.
I knew it.
It was a game called Devil Dice. And if you don't know what that game is, definitely look it up. It's really, really cool. And it's just basically you're literally a little character devil, and you're standing on top of dice. And you have to roll them so that the numbers match. And as soon as the numbers match, the dice disappear from the board and other dice grow on the board. And the object is to keep making dice disappear before the whole board fills up, with dice that you can't move around anymore. I was super addicted to it. Absolutely love that game. And I would love to see it on the PlayStation Classic. But I don't think there's a chance in hell.
You never know. Also, I wish I really was able to do an Andrew Dice Clay impression, because that's all is running through my head right now when you say dice.
Dice.
Needed
should
the
I,
money.
Should have had Frank on here.
Well, yeah, I don't think his dice is. Well, maybe. So next up on my list, again, kind of laid low for a little while. Recently, I think has a game coming out again on the next gen consoles, but the first game was just definitive, and I had a lot of fans of them. Spyro the Dragon.
Spyro. I don't have Spyro on my list.
I never played Spyro, but I mean, I do recognize the game is fantastic. Just kind of in the vein of Super Mario 64 to compare it to as far as gameplay. Very, very popular. And again, he's coming back. I don't think it was released yet, but he's coming back with a new game. Long overdue, in my opinion, because he's definitely deserving.
Yeah, I agree with that. And as we were discussing this, I just realized a game not on my list that should be. Okay. So I may have a bonus at the end.
Okay, fair enough.
But Spyro the Dragon, I agree with that. That was also a game I did not play, but I was aware of its popularity. So I definitely agree with you there. Okay, for me now, this was again another toss-up. I went back and forth on which one would be the best option, and I fell to the original one because you can't talk about PlayStation without talking about Resident Evil.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny you say the original. I really went back and forth. I went Resident Evil 2.
See, and I did the same thing. At one point on my list, I had both. Because who's to say you can't have both on there, Because they were both so, they were both so awesome. But at the end of the day, there were so many games that I wanted to see on here that I opted to just pick one.
And the reason why... No, and I agree. There's the director's cut as well. There's the original version. The reason why I went Resident Evil 2 is really just more for timing, because they announced the Resident Evil 2 remaster remake that they're doing.
That's why I didn't choose it, because I knew it was coming out as a remaster.
And the reason why I chose, I figured they would want the original available if the remaster is coming out. But either way, it's a home run. So.
Yeah, there's no question.
Yeah. Next one up on my list is a game that created a genre, in my opinion, of stealth combat, where actually it's more the less you do, the further you get through, and I'm talking about Metal Gear Solid.
That was actually the game that just popped in my head that wasn't on my list.
Oh.
And I'm actually in my head, I'm looking at my list now, I'm replacing one of the games that I was going to talk about with Metal Gear Solid.
We'll talk about the replacement at the end.
Yes.
Metal Gear Solid was just it was playing a movie when the game came, because there was opening credits.
Yes.
During the gameplay, there was opening credits.
Yeah, which was awesome.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. No, Solid Snake. I mean, what's funny about that is because we hadn't seen anything Metal Gear related since the NES, right? We had the original Metal Gear, which, by the way, was an awesome game. I love that game.
Totally.
And I was like, I felt extra accomplished when I beat that game for some reason.
Did you beat it? I didn't realize you beat it.
Oh yeah, I beat Metal Gear a long time ago. But Metal Gear Solid, yeah, I mean that game was just insane. It was insanely Solid Snake, and then what was the other guy's name?
I mean, there was so many of them. There was Liquid Snake.
Liquid Snake. I don't know if
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Was it Shadow Snake? I don't know.
So, and then it's just like Snake.
Exactly. But yeah, no.
Was it the first? Hold on. Was it Metal Gear Solid, the first one, where at some point in the game, the whole Metal Gear Solid series had a lot of like little like hidden messages, not messages, but like hidden ways to defeat bosses or to get through puzzles. You know, like Psycho Mantis. You had to plug in the controller into the second port to do it. I think it was the original Metal Gear Solid where at some point in the game you have to use your communicator to contact somebody, and you found the frequency to dial into. The only place you were able to find it was on the back of the jewel case of the game.
Oh wow!
I think that was the first
one.
So
you actually had to keep the jewel case of the game.
Oh yeah, I'm screwed because I threw away all the jewel cases. So, now back then no.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, well, you can never play through it now.
No, well,
unless it comes out on the PlayStation Classic.
It's just like I can't play through Roger Rabbit.
Yes.
You can't call the number anymore.
You can't call the number anymore.
But you can. You'll have a good time.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you can call the number if you're 18 or older.
What do we got next?
Next on my list, this is another game that I really enjoyed, and I know you'll know this game as soon as I announce it. But well, we have a guest. We have another guest.
Oh, the other one.
Oh, it's the other one.
Again. Oh, at least he's a little perky. At least his ears are up.
Say hello.
No.
Hello. Yeah, what game do you want on the PlayStation Classic?
He's going to set fire to your house in the middle of the night. Yeah.
He totally is. He wants to know why Nintendo's Cats and Dogs isn't coming out again.
Quiet, Siri. What happened?
Nothing. Bad joke.
Oh. Fair.
So anyway, the next game that I have on my list, and again, I was thinking of genres when I put this down too. Musical genre.
Oh, I think I know where you're going.
You probably don't, because it's not Busted Groove, even though I like those games. Oh, okay, but no, I'm going with the original, very strange 2D paper cut, cartoony Parappa the Rapper.
I got it on my list as well.
Oh, nice.
It was It was definitely a defining game.
Yes,
definitely a bestseller. Correct me if I'm wrong. That was more just button, timing of the buttons and everything like that, right?
It was simple button timing in order to do it, as most musical games are.
It was short, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, you could beat the game in like 25 minutes, I think.
Yeah,
because there were only 5 or 6 levels.
Yeah,
but who can forget the iconic, waiting in line at the gas station to go to the bathroom,
rapping about it,
about it so that you could skip the line.
I got another game on my list here. Is a game that I played a little bit of. Again, I'm not going to lie, but I remember kind of the platformer that it became on the PlayStation. I feel maybe one of the first platformers, left to right platformer. Rayman.
Oh, Rayman, yeah. Well, I mean, and that was, that was the game that came with the console, way back when.
Yeah, one of the first pack-ins, right?
Yeah, it was one. I think it was the first pack-in.
Possibly. Again, I'm sure we'll be corrected, as we never admit to knowing everything and everything.
It's true, but if I remember correctly, Rayman was the first pack-in that came with the PlayStation.
It was a great platformer.
It was awesome.
I have played it later on, but it was definitely good stuff.
And it would make sense to just to have that on there, just for just for nostalgia's sake.
Yep.
Did not make my list though.
All right, fair enough.
So moving on. Okay, I know I've already talked about, we've got Tekken 3, we've got Mortal Kombat Trilogy, but I would be remiss to not put this on my list. Marvel vs. Capcom.
Ooh. Boy, you want to talk about copyrights.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I know we're throwing that out the window, but that would... The first one or the second one?
The first one was on PlayStation 1.
Well, so was the second one.
No, it was not.
Yeah, it was. I had it.
Are you sure? Because I thought the second one was Dreamcast and PS2.
No, the second one was on PS1 because the Dreamcast was the arcade where you played 3-on-3, but the PlayStation version was 2-on-2, and we would have massive tournaments in college.
Well, if that's the case, then it would definitely be Marvel vs. Capcom 2. That's hands down.
And that's been re-released a few times, digital download and everything like that. That didn't make my list, funny enough, because as much as I was throwing out the whole, trying to get copyrights and everything, I just felt that even in that type of world, you wouldn't be able to get Marvel vs. Capcom 2 onto.
Well, the reason why it made my list is 2 reasons. Sony has licensing deals with Marvel, and they have licensing deals with Capcom. because the Mega Man franchise has been on Sony's, and Spider-Man for PS4 just came out, so.
Oh yeah, massive. And
massive. So I don't think it's out of reach because, like I said, Sony has a great relationship with their third parties. So I really do think anything can be on this thing.
Okay. No, I like the idea. Didn't make my list, but very, very good idea. Oh, excuse me. What did make my list, and this was another one where I kind of went back and forth on should it be the first one or the second one. And I feel like, and we've talked about this in the past, I ended up going with the sequel to this particular game because I think that's when it really hit its stride. As much as you loved this game on the Dreamcast, I loved it on the N64, but we can say that Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 would be amazing on the PlayStation Classic.
That is on my list as well. There's no question about that.
It was funny. I was debating. I really went back and forth because I'm like, well, the first one's the first one. And it started it, but just the second one was so good.
No, the second one, yeah, and the reason why the second one made my list, it was leaps and bounds ahead of the first one. There was so much more to it. So, yeah, it wasn't even a question for me. I didn't. Okay. Yeah, I didn't even debate it. Cool. So,
but now it's funny. I'm starting to question it now because when Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 came out, was the DualShock available?
I do not know.
Because I'm thinking about the analog sticks.
Yeah, but because because I played this on Dreamcast, so I had their version of that. I
played it on the N64, and I had the analog. So.
Yeah, so
but in any event, I'm still going. Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Nope, agreed. Okay, so next on my list is one that I would. Well, I'm assuming you didn't put it on your list because you were concerned about licensing rights and everything like that. But I had to put this on there.
I tried to ignore. Yeah. Short of Marvel vs. Capcom.
Right. So this one had to go on my list because I feel like for its time, it was the definitive pro wrestling game that we played nonstop, and that would be WWF SmackDown 2.
You know what? I believe that was Know Your Role.
Know Your Role. Yes.
Yep. That would be. I mean, trust me, I would love to see a WWE game. I don't know what you're talking about with the WWF. Panda has nothing to do with the PlayStation, but I would love to see a wrestling game on any of these classics. But it's funny, I didn't put any WWE games on here because I feel like in the mass market, they probably wouldn't go with it. But I have to say personally, it was the first SmackDown game that was the reason why I got a PlayStation. I didn't get a PlayStation originally.
No, I remember. You were still a Nintendo snob at the time.
I had Genesis.
Yeah, that took you a while to get, though.
And I even bought PlayStation used because I didn't have the money. But, it was SmackDown that got me to buy a PlayStation. I would personally like to see the first SmackDown because of that, more personal reasons. But, yeah, SmackDown 2 was fantastic. So that's a good pick.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to. I would love to see a wrestling game because wrestling games are so popular on video game systems.
Oh, yeah.
So,
which is why I find weird that pro wrestling wasn't on the NES Classic. But whatever.
Agreed.
Next up for me is a game this one's coming out of left field, I admit, but I do know I've played it a couple of times. It is a fun game. Hot Shots Golf.
Oh.
It's a golf game. It's a bit arcade like, so it's not like a Tiger Woods game or anything like that. It's more arcade, so it's kind of meant to be played fast. But I do know it's sold very well on the system, very popular, and I think if you're going to go with that, and some fans out there, golf fans, or at least arcade sports fans, I think would get a kick out of it. So I know it's out of the ordinary, way out of the ordinary, but sometimes you throw those games on there.
No, I can understand that. I went back and forth on whether or not to put a sports game on here. But at the end of the day, I decided not to because sports games retire. I have to sneeze really badly. I'm sorry.
Say grapefruit over and over again in your head.
Okay. So, what was I saying? Yeah, I thought about sports games, but how sports games always kind of die out when the next year comes out. So, and I couldn't think of a definitive sports game that would work that was on the PlayStation, so I kind of just skipped those.
That's kind of like why I went for Hot Shots Golf because there's no pro players in it. It's not Hot Shots Golf 98 or anything like that. It's just an arcade game. Whose turn is it?
My turn.
All right, let's try.
Okay. No. And the next one on my list is again another great game. Also Marvel related, because when it came out, it was just absolutely amazing. And I actually had it on the Dreamcast. I didn't have it on the PlayStation, but the original Spider-Man game.
I knew where you were going with that. Yep.
Yeah. And the sequel, Enter Electro, was good, but that first one was just fantastic. Like, I feel like that was the first time I really felt like they really got a superhero character right in a video game setting.
It didn't make my list. Again, I don't know why, because of the parameters that I set for myself. But you're right. It is amazing game. I feel like if a game like Spider-Man's on there, this thing probably would have been more than $99. But it would deserve to be on there. Mm-hmm. And, it's just, you're right. I only had it on PlayStation. I didn't have it on Dreamcast. But I don't even think I own it anymore, unfortunately. Something happened where I lost track of it. I definitely got to go back and pick that up.
Yeah, definitely worth picking up.
Next up on my list is the first of a series that I still feel is the original as far as military historical war games.
Oh, interesting.
Call of Duty took over that genre, but before there was Call of Duty, there was Medal of Honor.
Oh, Medal of Honor, that's right.
And the first Medal of Honor, I mean, I don't think I ever beat it, shockingly, but I got far in it, mm-hmm. and it was just, I remember I just could not put the game down. It took place World War II, and the one part I remember vividly is, you're undercover as a German, not spy, but just mm-hmm. you're in Germany, and, just walk up to one of the characters, and, just like, papers? Where are your papers? And then you just have to cap them, and that was it.
Of course.
But oh man, Medal of Honor, and the sequel, Medal of Honor Underground. There was Medal of Honor, I forgot, on the PS2. Sadly, the most recent one on the PS3 wasn't that good, in my opinion. But the first one was amazing. I still think the Medal of Honor series, overall, better than Call of Duty. I'm saying.
Oh, wow. That's it. That's a big statement.
Yep.
And speaking of big, no, you
oh boy! What is he doing?
He wants to sit on me.
Jeez.
No, not now.
Get control of your zoo.
I can't control the animals. They run the house. All right. So last one on my list of 15. I'm at my last. So what?
How was that? Oh, I guess you had more.
I have one bonus one. Since I forgot about
still in 15.
Oh, interesting. Maybe we overlap. Mine overlapped with yours more. I don't know.
I guess so, yeah.
But anyway, last one on my list of 15. Again, another one that became a very successful franchise. Probably one of the most successful franchises in the history of video gaming. And I put the original on there because it's amazing to see where this game started and how far it's come today. Grand Theft Auto.
I thought about GTA. I guess I did consider, just trying to get around stuff. Yeah. Yes, GTA should be. It's not on my list. Should be on there. I felt they wanted to maybe stay away from that just because of the, with the carjacking and stuff like that. But again, if we're throwing that out the window, you're right. GTA, Grand Theft Auto was literally a game changer. Even GTA London 1969, mm-hmm. which was awesome because it was like downloadable content that was physical.
Yes.
Because you still needed the original disc
mm-hmm.
to play. That would be awesome.
That definitely blows. Especially because Grand Theft Auto 5, GTA 5 is just like
it's
one of the most successful games in history. And I think just paying homage to that by going back and say, and the original Grand Theft Auto is it's really fun, and it was so at least at the time when it came out on PlayStation, so different. It was such a unique concept. And it just was awesome, and the sequel was great too.
GTA 2, yeah. That I had on Dreamcast. I tried GTA 2 on Dreamcast.
Oh, interesting.
And can you imagine going? It's been forever because ever since GTA 3, it's all been 3D.
Yeah.
But to go back to that top-down perspective, exactly. Man, that'd be weird to go back to. Yeah.
It definitely would be, but it would be awesome.
All right, cool. So I got 3 more. So I'll run through. I know you got your bonus, which we'll touch on here next. Again, going back and forth with sequels, but I figure forget it. Let's go straight with the original, Twisted Metal.
Yeah, I thought about Twisted Metal for my list too, but did not make the cut.
Okay. Like for me, and I get what you're talking about with having too many in the same genre. There's already Ridge Racer. If we picked, we'd have Gran Turismo on there.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel Twisted Metal is not the same as Ridge Racer and not the same as Gran Turismo.
No, it's definitely
more
not.
Of a battle game.
Yeah. Battle racing is completely different.
Exactly. And how iconic the clown and the ice cream truck.
Yes.
Forget about it.
Nope, agreed.
So what was your bonus?
My bonus was the reason why I had swapped Metal Gear Solid out for this one is because I already had I thought Resident Evil was the definitive survival horror game, right?
Okay, I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, but and I wouldn't be surprised if this makes it onto the Classic, and if anything, I would welcome it to be on the Classic because it was such a great game, and it was another game that also was enjoyable with its simplicity and what it didn't have, because it helped build up the suspense, and that is the ultra creepy Silent Hill.
Yes, before I was debating between Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil, I was debating between Silent Hill and Resident Evil. Yeah. Ultimately choosing Resident Evil. But Silent Hill would be well worthy to be on the list.
Yeah, because, and I remember that game basically for you're walking through a fog and things would just come out of nowhere and you never knew when they were going to come out. So it was just amazing. You would literally sit there in suspense the whole time, waiting for things to come at you. And yeah, it was just really, really well done.
And I think a lot of that probably just had to do with the fact that they couldn't really render stuff quickly enough, so they just threw a fog in there.
Yeah. That's
so
exactly
it was more
what it was.
production than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I got two more, which I'm still trying to figure out this math, but whatever. So first
I have no
up,
idea.
A game in the kind of, again, battle series, not as much like Medal of Honor, but I would say in the vein of Tom Clancy games and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I had this game, I remember playing it a lot, Siphon Filter.
Oh, yeah, Siphon Filter.
Yep. Which actually I find funny. Also, the host of the Yin and Yang podcast, Anthony Chu, was a big fan of Siphon Filter. Apparently,
yeah, he was. I do remember that.
So, great game, and I remember that was the first PS1 classic I downloaded on the PS3.
Mm-hmm.
So, and finally, a game I admit I never played, but I know how popular it was on the system, how popular of a game it was. I believe it's the sequel. Forgive me, I'm not familiar with the franchise too much, but Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver.
Yes. Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. I thought there was also Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 2.
Which was a direct sequel to that, but Soul Reaver, I think, is a sequel to
Legacy of Kain. Yeah, and that game was insanely popular as well. So I can definitely understand why that would make the list. And another one that just popped in my head, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure it was on the PlayStation. Prince of Persia, Sands of Time. Was that PlayStation?
No, I'm gonna be honest. That was Xbox. I think it was Xbox 360.
Oh, was that later? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I thought Prince of Persia was on PlayStation 1.
Yeah. They may have had a version like of the original Prince of Persia, but I don't think Sands of Time. No.
Well, anyway, yeah. But Legacy of Kain. So I remember Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver being a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So hey, look, those are our lists. Mm-hmm. We'll see what Sony comes up with, and of course, as always, let us know what you think, what your 15 would be, or just name a couple PlayStation games you feel should be on the PlayStation Classic. That drops December 3rd, $99 US, $100 US, 130 Canadian, and go pre-order it when you can, and let us know
while
on
you
Facebook.
Can.
Yes. Facebook.com/RetroGamersPodcast. What you feel is the definitive PlayStation Classic lineup.
Okay, Larry, it is time for this week's Cheat of the Week.
Ooh, all right. What do we got? What do you got?
And for this week, I decided to go with one of the games that you want on the Sony PlayStation Classic that nobody else probably wants on it. So,
what's the difference between want and what I think? But let's see what we got.
True, but this one I think this is one that you would personally want. The same way that I want Devil Dice on it, and it won't happen. So this week's Cheat of the Week is going to be for Hot Shots Golf.
Oh, all right.
Okay. So, and let's face it, it's a golf game. There really aren't that many cheats. However,
no, it's an arcade golf game, so maybe.
Right, true. Well, there is one code that allows you to unlock all the character and courses in the game, so you don't have to unlock them the old-fashioned way.
Fair enough.
Okay. Now, first thing to note is that this code only works on the second controller, and you cannot have the memory card in the PlayStation in order to achieve it.
Already sounds daunting. Okay.
Yep. So at the title screen with the bouncing logo, you need to hold L1, L2, R1, and R2 on the second controller, and while holding them down, you press up, up, down, up, left, right, right, left, up, up, down, up, left, right, right, left.
They did not want anyone to do this, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. They tried to make it as cumbersome as possible. I would love to repeat that for you, but I really don't want to. So
people just play back. Just go back 10 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Just go back 10 seconds and play it again. If you should happen to own Hot Shots Golf, which I highly doubt you do. But anyway, if you do have it, that is how to unlock all the characters and codes, and that is this week's Cheat of the Week.
All right, so we are back, and we got some retro news for you. The real old news. That's new at this point.
Exactly. We have new old news.
Yes.
No, wait. We have new old news.
New old news.
No, not old new news, but new old news.
New old. Okay, yes. Old new. All right. So
new old.
What we got up first is Polymega's pre-order. Finally, after 2 years, I think, of talking about this.
Oh, it took a long time.
It did, but finally, Polymega, which is, again, as far as I know, the first clone system for CD-based games, along with modules for Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, and the TurboGrafx 16, is on pre-order. You can go to the website, polymega.com. You can pre-order the whole lot, and it's going to be released in April. I don't know the exact date.
April of next year. Yep.
April of next year. The base system, which is the system that will play 5 CD-based games. So in one drive, you'll play PS1, Sega CD, Neo Geo CD, TurboGrafx CD, and Sega Saturn.
Yes, I think they just announced the Sega Saturn part too.
They announced it the day that the
pre-order
did the pre-order. And they say it's possible for more CD-based games with firmwares later on in the life of the system. Available for $250, which is a steal for those 5 systems, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I think it's definitely well worth the price. If anything, just if you happen to own all the old systems, just a way to clear your shelves a little bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you don't even have to have the modules, but you can buy the separate modules as well, which is 4 of them. Basically, you can buy all 5 quote-unquote systems for $500.
Which I'm sure you did.
Which I have on pre-order. So I will be getting everything. But it's a really cool system. I'm looking forward to it. It's got a lot of other things which we'll talk about as time goes on. You'll be able to download games. You'll be able to stream games. There'll be CD-ROM games that you can buy online. So it's going to be really, really cool.
I think they also announced that there are going to be original games released on it.
There will. Yep, there will be. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think each module, if not each module, at least the base system, will have 5 preloaded games already in it.
Yeah, that was my understanding as well. So you're not just getting the console; you're actually getting games in it as well, which is awesome.
Absolutely. The thing, though, I do want to mention is when this site went live, it got destroyed.
Oh, yes, it did.
Between just heavy traffic. And apparently, what do they call it?
They got hacked.
Yeah, it's when they just send so much stuff to the site that the site just shuts down. A DDoS attack or something like that. I forgot what they call it.
Yep.
But the site was down for like 3 days.
Oh yeah, I know. It was crazy.
It, stinks. But and I'm looking at the site right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 18, 24 in total. You will be able to play 32 different systems. What is this? Wow. Wait a minute. God bless. All right. I had no idea about this, but apparently the Genesis add-on will play 32X.
Oh, that's great.
I didn't know that.
All 8 games for the 32X.
And because of that, it will play Sega CD 32X. God bless. That's
of course,
cool.
I have to sneeze now.
Wait, wow, there's more stuff to this than I thought. All right, you know what? For $500, I don't feel so bad anymore.
No, I mean, the whole Polymega system in and of itself, I mean, the fact that you're going to be able to play 32 systems, yeah, I mean, it's super cheap.
And the controllers, the first party Polymega controller, God, what is the matter
I'm deleting
with you?
this. I'm deleting this section.
All right.
Because I'm a mess right now.
Give it a moment.
You gave me your pneumonia.
Do you want me to start the whole thing over?
No.
Okay. But I'm going to give a few seconds, and I'll edit out as well.
Yeah, I'm going to give it I'm just going to do a hard cut on the video. I'm just going to be like, oh, sorry. Tech.
Oh, okay. I got it.
Do a sorry technical difficulty thing.
And let me just give it a few seconds, and then I'm going to pick up, because I'm going to talk about the controllers.
Yep.
And even the first party controllers for the NES, SNES, Genesis, and TurboGrafx, I mean, they have their Polymega look to them, but they're designed like the original controllers. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, short of the main controller for the CD-based systems, you're not going to get each controller. You're not going to be able to use, I don't think, each controller, but that's okay. Look, you know, you deal with it accordingly.
I mean, just the fact of like the overall look and feel of it looks really good. They've also posted recently some gameplay examples.
Yes.
As well, so you can see how the games run. And it looks solid. It really does look solid.
And they did have a little bit of criticism because supposedly some of the gameplay was not native to the system. Yes. Especially when they're showing Saturn, but they showed new gameplay recently, which is directly from the system.
Exactly, and that's what I was referring to.
Yeah.
And yeah, it looks great. So it's definitely something on my radar. I don't think I'm going to do the $500 one because I have the Retro Freak, which covers my cartridge-based systems. True. So I'm probably going to pre-order just the CD-based one. So I can play all my CD-based stuff. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this is definitely something for anybody who's looking at a retro game. And again, don't have a lot of space. You don't want to clutter. And, you know, you won't have to necessarily go out and buy the physical games because they're going to start offering downloadable games. This would definitely be something to look into.
I think, I may be wrong on this, but I think you can also rip the ROMs to the Polymega.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah. And for an extra $100 with the bundles, you can buy a second controller for each system, which is cool, but to be honest with you, for the 4 modules, not the CD-based ones, but for the modules, you can still use the original controllers because it's the same plug-in. So
yeah, and if that's the case, you might as well roll with it. I just naturally assume like if you buy the CD-based one, like that controller will work with everything too. So,
oh, absolutely. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely. But each module comes with a controller anyway. So.
Okay. So, yeah, you're just covered in the controller department at that point.
Absolutely.
All right.
So I'm looking forward to that. That is going to be awesome.
All right. Very cool. And then continuing in the pre-order category, the pre-orders for the international edition of the Neo Geo Mini went live last week.
Okay.
So if you are interested in the Neo Geo Mini... it's a mini retro arcade version because remember Neo Geo was big in the arcade and they came out with a system, but it was ridiculously expensive and fell by the wayside for that reason. I believe it was like $1,000 when it first came out.
That was nuts, yeah.
And games were like $300 because you got 4 games on $200 or $300 because you got 4 games on one disc. So anyway, but now they're coming out with a miniature version. It's got 40 classic Neo Geo games in it. It's a 3.5-inch display, but it also has an HDMI component so you can hook it up to your TV if you want to play it on your television.
Which I think is really cool. It is tiny.
Which is smart. It's super tiny. It's only got a 3.5-inch screen, so it's super small. So I think the benefit to this would be to hook it up to a television. My one criticism for this is just the fact of there were a lot of games where they're just repetitive. It's a lot of sequels, so it's like Metal Slug 1, 2, 3, 4, like things like that. I go, that's the one criticism I have. But again, Neo Geo didn't have a ton of game options, not to mention popular games. So I can understand why they put the games on it that they did. So if
there's 10 King of Fighters, I think.
Yeah, I mean, a good quarter of the system is our King of Fighters. So if you're a Neo Geo fan, though, this is worth picking up. I believe it's retailing for, I want to say 100.
I don't have that in front of me. I apologize.
Yeah, I think it was 100. But anyway,
that sounds right.
Yeah, the international version the pre-orders went up on September 10th. So if you're interested in that, go out and pre-order it.
Absolutely. Something else, which another, we talked about with the PlayStation Classic, kind of dropped out of nowhere.
Yeah.
hold on for 1 second. I'm going to edit this part out. I apologize. Did we talk about Streets of Rage 4 last week?
I think we did.
I feel like we did too. All right, never mind.
Skip
I was
it.
wondering why you skipped over. All right, I am. I'm going to go to the Bluetooth. Okay. Okay. Here we go. All right, so next up on the news is, which we've talked about once before, how there are for Sega, for a lot of their systems.
Sega.
Bluetooth controllers are coming out.
Yeah.
For the system, for the original systems, actually, you can use. Though it looks like we're having a little bit of issues here with one of these Bluetooths.
Yes.
So.
Are you having issues opening the article?
No. The article. Hold on. I guess we're starting this one over. No, the article says the Sega Saturn Bluetooth pad doesn't live up to its inspiration.
Right. It's just a.
Oh, this isn't the one I'm thinking of. I thought this was something else.
No,
this was the Retrobit one.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Starting over. Here we
Circle
go.
back.
Yep. All right. So up next on the news is we've talked about it. We briefly touched on it once before. I think you are going to be highly interested in a company, Retrobit, is coming out with Bluetooth controllers for the Genesis, the Saturn, the Dreamcast. And even original wired controllers, just new controllers for old systems. But there was also another Saturn Bluetooth controller that you can hook up to your smartphone.
Yes.
Which ideally sounds like a good idea, but apparently is not really working.
Yeah, apparently they're having issues with it. And to be honest with you, I don't know about hooking up controllers to my phone. I guess it's worth it since phones are your phones are bigger now anyway, so it's easier to game on it. But I don't know.
I've it's weird, like to play a side scroller on whether it's an Android or iPhone, you don't have that feel of the joystick because it's on the screen. It's a virtual joystick.
Right.
So you don't have the tactile feel. So I get the idea of a Bluetooth, and they have these types of controllers that are available, a lot of which work, but for, Sega's put out a ton of games for free, downloadable on the phones. Ton of their library. So it would almost make sense to get one of these Bluetooths. And if you're going to play a Sega game, might as well play with a Sega controller. But this particular one, which I don't know if it's from Sega directly, just isn't living up to the hype. So if you see a Sega Saturn controller for the basically for the Android, I would stay away from it.
Yeah, I would definitely avoid it as well because it's not getting a lot of love out there.
Yeah. Here we go. It's from and no offense to the company, but Paladone Products made it's called the Sega smartphone controller for Android. So there you go, and it's 30 pounds, so whatever that converts to here.
So that's about like $40.
Yeah. So
Something
all
like
right.
that.
Hey, listen, not everything's gonna work. Not everything's gonna be a home run.
Exactly. One thing that was a home run, though, I will say, and this is also in the news, was like we said, the NES Classic Mini and the SNES Classic Mini, which over in Japan was known as the Famicom and Super Famicom Mini. Okay, so and again, now Nintendo of Japan decided last week that they were going to release a double pack for the Famicom and Super Famicom Mini. So what happens is you get both classic mini consoles, and you get an AC adapter for both devices, and the purchase bundle price is 15,077 yen, which is about $135. So it's about the same. It's about $5 less than what you paid for the two separately. But again, for those of you who could not get your hands on an NES Classic because it wasn't available at the time or it's sold out and everything like that, here's another opportunity to get your hands on it in the sense of a double pack.
I think that's pretty cool. That'd be awesome if they did that here, but still, you get two of them right away. And it's not the gold Famicom; it's the original mini.
It's
Famicom.
The original one, yeah. It's not the gold one that has all the manga 50th anniversary games.
Yeah. And that's coming out in Japan on the 15th of September.
It already came out.
That's right. Oh, God, I lost track. I've completely lost track of time. All righty. This is a little weird, and I still don't know what to make of this thing. So
you're going to buy it.
No, I don't think so, because I feel like the firmware that I'd have to do on it is too much. But there's a company that has put out an attachment for the Super NES Classic that lets you play physical SNES cartridges.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Classic 2 Magic Attachment, probably because it's going to take magic to get everything synced for this thing to run. It does involve modding the SNES Classic, which a ton of people have done already.
Yep.
It's a good idea if you didn't have to do all the modding, I guess, to just run off the power of the SNES. But here's my opinion. As much as we are, how we feel with mods and ROMs and stuff like that, if you're going to go about modding the SNES Classic, you might as well just mod it to throw the games on there.
True. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can just mod them to, and throw, 3,000 games in there. But, for purists who have the cartridges.
True.
And this is similar to the Retro Freak console that we bought. When you put the game in, if you have a micro SD card in there, it automatically downloads and saves the game. This is just another opportunity to do it with the, SNES Classic.
True. So it's interesting. It's I guess a collector's item. I'll pass on it personally, but hey, looks like a good idea.
Yes. And going, sticking with the mini, if you haven't seen a theme going through all of this, there's a lot of news in terms of classic mini consoles. Like that is now the new fad right now. That's just it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's announcing it now. A few months ago, Sega announced that the Sega Mega Drive Mini was going to be released this year. So they were just trying to, jump on the craze. We all know the crash and burn they did with the previous Mini the previous two classic consoles that they came out with ad games, which just were not good. This one was coming officially from Sega, so it's going to be an actual Sega Genesis Mini. Unfortunately, it has been delayed. So now the Sega Mega Drive or Sega Genesis Mini will not be coming to the States until 2019. Now, I'm hoping they're doing this so that they can fix the mistakes they made with the previous ones.
Exactly.
Because I can't imagine another reason why it had to hold off. So hopefully, when this one comes out, it'll actually be legit and good, unlike the previous two.
We shall see.
Yes, we will.
Minis galore, and we're going to talk about more of them. Retrobit, which is a good company, because last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess, when we recorded the hybrid episode, I did the unboxing of the two games that I got from Retrobit through Castlemania. But Retrobit's putting out like a Game Boy, if you will.
Yes.
Basically, and it's going to have over 260 games loaded on it. It's called the Retrobit Go Retro. And again, preloaded with over 260 games, some of which are big names. Burger Time, Mega Man 2 and 3, Mighty Final Fight, Ghosts and Goblins, 1943, Bad Dudes, to name a few. Then you got some weird ones, like Blob Man, Greedy, Mad, Xmas, Man in Red. With over 260 titles, I guess not all of them are going to be hits.
As in 200 of them not being hits.
Basically, yeah. They, according here, what we're reading, there's probably a good 30, 37 of them that are good. Tetris is on here, and we're talking about official licensed games. But this also kind of fell with talking about games with the Genesis
Classics,
where it had 80 games, but like 40 of them were actual Genesis games, where the others were homebrews and they just weren't good.
Exactly, and I think this Retrobit fell victim to that as well. It's like I feel like companies try to take advantage by saying the more games we put on it, the more enticing it'll be. But people that are buying these things are ultimately looking for quality, not quantity. And on top of that, they're looking for recognizable games. We're all buying these classics. Why are you laughing?
Because I forgot them on camera and I yawned.
Very nice. Sorry to call you out on that. I didn't see the yawn.
No, I was going to call myself out on it. To be honest
Okay, well, good. I didn't know I was that boring. So
no, just slightly.
Oh yeah, sure. But again, one of those things is that people that are shopping for these classics want recognizable games. They want games that they remember when they played when they were younger. So throwing 200 games on there that nobody knows is immediately a turnoff. And that was the issue with the Genesis, and unfortunately, looks like that was the issue with this retro bit.
So we'll say, I mean, retro bit's good, but I think they went a little, they shot for the moon and ended up with the stars or whatever it's called. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. Retrobit still has a lot of cool stuff. That Retro Duo 3 or Trio, still a very good system. So, but hey, check it out when you can.
Yeah. And now, I think this is our, almost our last bit of news. We're closing in on it. But we do know that the Sony PlayStation Classic was announced earlier this week. Apparently not to be outdone by it. On Thursday, September 20th, it was revealed that Nintendo filed a trademark for the N64 Classic.
Here we go.
So exactly. It's like, if we didn't think that Sony and Nintendo were going to remain competitive, lo and behold, especially in the classic market, Nintendo looks like they're already biting back. Now, it's just a filing for the trademark. There's no announcements in terms of release date, games, or anything like that. But the fact that they filed the trademark for it already tells you that an N64 Classic is inevitable. Now, rumors were running around that the N64 Classic is going to be ready in time to compete with the PlayStation Classic. However, unless Nintendo's already been, developing it, I don't see that they will be able to accomplish that within the time frame. However, it could be something they've already been designing. So
true, because when they announced the NES Classic, it was June, July, came out that November. SNES Classic around the same time, July, maybe August.
But came out in September.
True. So it's that's also because, again, the Super NES has the same insides as the NES. All they had to do was just
and I would assume that this would have the same insides as well, even though the games were larger. All it really means is maybe bumping up the memory on it.
Either that, or we just won't get as many games, because the way I see it with the N64 Classic, which I will think about copyrights and everything like that, I do not see GoldenEye 007 being on this system, unfortunately.
Very true.
I see really, and when I went back and thought about it, it's weird. The N64, I feel like really it's like the first party games weren't that many that I feel would deserve to be on a system like this. In fact, I still think it was only going to be 10 games. I feel
I think they can easily get to 20.
I don't know.
There may be some repeats, because here, let's just really, really quickly run through. Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Mario Party. You can have 1, 2, and 3 if you want to. Mario Kart 64, Super Smash Brothers, Pokemon Stadium, or Stadium 2. You got the what was that? Pokemon Go, Pokemon Puzzle League. There are a ton of options for this system.
You're right. What I'm talking about is if it's a bigger memory, that's fine. But if they stick with the same
memory, no,
system,
they're not. I don't think they're going to. I think 20 is like the. I think 20 is like the minimum you can have on these things.
It would be nice. I'll even be happy with 15. But I heard like the memory for to mod an SNES Classic, you can't fit an entire library on there. Like people fit the entire NES library. You only fit like 200 games, SNES games. So if you think about that with the size of the cartridges of the N64, but I see, the possible pricing, $99 like the PS Classic.
Exactly.
It would be cool to see the N64 Classic come out this holiday season it's almost like, if I may, seeing a couple of, classic superstars come out of, for one last time to battle it out. Like we got Triple H and Undertaker at Super Showdown in Australia for one last time. It's Nintendo and Sony, these two old systems for the last time, battling it out this holiday season. It would be interesting.
But Cat jumped on me.
Hello.
No, it'll be interesting, but I think that Nintendo had to up and down. I think Nintendo has to compete with 20 games because let's face it, PlayStation games aren't small, right? You know, because they were CD based. So, and granted, they're not huge. We're talking under a gig because at the time discs back then I think could hold about 600 megabytes. Sometimes they were able to do double that, but.
Yep.
You know, but the fact that their system is going to be able to hold 20 games for $100, Nintendo has to answer back with that. If they come out with anything less than that, they're not going to be able to compete.
So. Agreed. I'm just worried about then the pricing as well, but we'll see.
Well, I would assume $100 for 20 games. That's exactly where I'm at. Oh, and also in terms of other games, that Star Fox 64, Star Wars Shadow of the Empire. There are a lot of games they could put on that system. GoldenEye, I agree with you, would be the hardest one for them to get. And the most expensive one for them to get, so we may be out of luck on that front.
We'll see when the time comes.
That is true.
But in the meantime, we kind of got a little bit of a different classic on our hands because the Nintendo Switch Online has gone live. And for the best price of all the systems, $20 a year, you get the online service. Like the other systems, you need it to play online games, to do a bunch of other stuff with it. But the biggest selling point, in my opinion, is the NES games that are going to be available. It's not individual virtual console games like the Wii and the Wii U were. It's a set games that you have, which new games will be added every month. And it's 2-player online, which is cool. And the launch titles, the first 20 games to come out, I almost would rather have seen these 20 on the NES Classic.
Oh wow!
Than what we got.
That's
a couple of exceptions.
There are a couple of exceptions, but I will say, like, they basically picked games that you could play online with other people for the most part. You know, there are a couple of games on there like Legend of Zelda, which are obviously 1-player.
Yes.
But a good chunk of those games are, 2-player. And again, the online capability, having the online capability to play against other people. These classic 8-bit games that you used to only be able to play with somebody sitting next to you in your home, it's just very appealing. And again, to your point, $20 a year. I mean, that is markedly different from, Xbox and Sony, which is $60. So you really can't go wrong. And on top of that, they're going to be offering more games as time goes on. So, you really can't go wrong with this.
They've already announced the next 3 months. It looks like it's going to be 3 games a month.
Yep.
The next 3 months. But I'm just going to go through this real fast with the 20 games that are available right now. Excuse me. Soccer, tennis, Donkey Kong, Mario Brothers, which I hate, Super Mario Brothers, Balloon Fight, Ice Climber, Dr. Mario, Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Brothers 3, Double Dragon, River City Ransom.
Yes.
Ghosts and Goblins, Tecmo Bowl, Gradius, Pro Wrestling, which I was very excited for, Excite Bike, Yoshi, Ice Hockey, and Baseball.
Yes, an awesome list. Awesome list.
Very, very cool.
The one notably missing for me in terms of for 2-player game modes, Tetris.
Yep, I can see it. That's probably something down the road.
Definitely,
because the games they have lined up down the road. I guess you don't want to release all your top games at right up front.
No, you don't. You want to release over time to get more people excited about it.
Yep. And from the looks of it, because of the 2 players, I think we're going to get more sports games than we expect, but that's okay.
Yes.
Coming out in October, Solomon's Key.
Love that game.
Completely underrated.
Love that game.
NES Open Tournament Golf and Super Dodgeball.
Love Super Dodgeball also. Love
I haven't played Super Dodgeball.
Oh, I used to play Super Dodgeball all the time. It's awesome.
Oh, I mentioned earlier how I tried playing a tennis game and I stunk at it. I was talking about tennis for the NES.
Oh, okay.
List. Oh my god, I was terrible.
Well, those original games that came out, like tennis, baseball, hockey, the ones that were just generic. Yeah, I mean, it was hard to control some of them.
And also, which I never noticed until I played them on this online service. So 30 plus years after they were released.
Yep.
I think tennis, ice hockey, and baseball and pro wrestling all have the same theme song.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. No, that's Excite Bike.
No.
But one of the other ones. Yeah, I'm looking because I'm playing tennis. I'm like, why does this sound familiar?
Because
and then I turned on pro wrestling,
yeah,
the same one.
They released all those games roughly at the same time, when the Nintendo was released, so that you had options to play. And here are all these sports games. You know, that's why they were generic titles.
Yep. Coming out in November, Metroid, Mighty Bomb Jack, and Twinbee.
Nice.
And in December, we got Wario's Woods, Ninja Gaiden, and Adventures of Lolo.
Oh, I love Adventures of Lolo. That's another game that that I don't think people talk enough about, and how it's kind of a great little puzzle game.
Yep. What's also cool about these games, like for example, Super Mario Brothers is a 2-player game, but it's alternating 2 players.
Right.
So what you can do is when you're playing online, you can, like, the second player or whoever I guess isn't playing can actually display a hand-shaped cursor, kind of like the Wii cursor, on your screen, and you can help, like, you can actually point stuff out to the person who's playing.
That's awesome.
Which is cool. The voice chat is through the Nintendo Switch Online app. Okay, we can.
I'm not a fan of that at all.
You know what? That's what's keeping it at $20 a month.
Exactly. I mean, for that, I can just call you on the phone.
Yeah. And the biggest, coolest thing of all is, and you have to be a member of the online to be able to get these, is the NES Joy-Con controllers.
Ah, yes.
And you get 2 of them this time.
Yeah, original wireless NES controllers.
And they plug right into the sides like the Joy-Cons do. So,
yeah, that's a really cool option there.
If you haven't signed up for it yet, sign up for it now. $20 a year. You cannot go wrong.
Yes.
And that was basically it with the retro news. A lot of cool stuff happening, a lot of minis, and a lot more.
Well, I got a couple of quick ones. Really?
What?
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 Couple of surprises. No, not a couple of surprises, but one other thing to point out, and it's a little bit of sad news for us for streamers. But YouTube has officially decided that they will be closing down their gaming stream app. So anybody who does stream games through the YouTube app, unfortunately, I think as of March of 2019, you will no longer be able to. So RIP YouTube game streaming app. That's going to happen.
Weird, yeah. I don't know why they're doing that, but I guess they just feel it's not worth it, or they want people to go out and actually live life.
No, I just think that the competition is just getting a little too fierce for them, and they weren't able to keep up with it. Hey, not the end of the world. There are other streaming platforms, and then there was another article that I did not put on the list because I wanted to surprise you with it. Okay. And this is something that was just announced on Friday. It was coming on the heels of the N64 Classic trademark. And apparently somebody else did a little more digging, because we know about the N64 Classic trademark. Then there was the Game Boy one, because remember there was talk about the Game Boy Classic also coming out. Somebody else found another trademark that they filed after they filed the N64 one, and it's for a Virtual Boy Classic.
For real?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh man! Because you can fit the entire library on it.
On the actual system. So yeah. So they're apparently gonna test the water again with the Virtual Boy by going with the Virtual Boy Classic.
I'll test it. I'm in.
I know you'll test it. And probably the most interesting thing out of the filing that I read is that I'm totally lying to you right now, and you fell for it. Hashtag VB sucks. Okay, Larry, it is time for this week's Did You Know?
Sorry, I'm still recovering. Virtual Boy. I'm
sorry. Yeah, well, these things sting, Larry, and I hate to tell you that I enjoy every time I do it to you. And that sentence can be misconstrued. Moving on. This week's Did You Know? Okay. So... this week, actually, this comes out based on a tweet that was released last week by the one and only Seth Rogen.
Yes, I saw this.
Yes. Now, this is something I already knew, but a lot of people did not know this.
All right, hold on. Full disclosure.
Yes.
Did you know this from, day one?
No, I did. No. I did not know this from day one. I learned this later on, much later on. But,
I learned about this. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I learned about this a couple years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I learned about this. I didn't learn about it a couple years ago. I think I learned about it before that. But still, it's something I found out, but not when I originally had the game. But if you read Seth Rogen's tweet, he basically, he let everybody in on the game in the NES game Duck Hunt. If you had the second controller plugged in, you were actually able to control the direction of the duck on the screen while player one was trying to shoot the duck down.
So it was basically a two-player game.
Exactly. It was a two-player game. It's just, again, it's one of those things that nobody really noticed. Now, I want to go back and see if it listed that in the original instruction booklet.
I was just going to ask that. Because,
right. Yeah. Because it's entirely possible they did. Or if it was just something that was like going to be an Easter egg you would eventually uncover.
It's as if we don't have some sort of technology that lets us maybe look up what the...
Well, but exactly. But the bottom line is, like, a majority of people did not know this.
No, not at all.
So it was actually kind of cool to see Seth Rogen release it in a tweet and like blow everybody's mind. So
yeah.
So Duck Hunt, if you ever go back and play it, even though you really can't now on today's televisions, the second controller controls the direction of the duck, and that is this week's Did You Know?
Yes. All right, so we're getting ready to wind this episode down, and as much as the show's winding down, I'm wound up because last night I finally did something, added to the list of games that I've beaten finally.
Yes, you have beaten game number 3.
I wouldn't say game 3, but definitely probably still in the single digits, I'll be honest.
Really? I was just joking.
Maybe.
Wow.
No, off the top of my head, I have to actually sit down and write the list out, but and it's not a lot, as we know, but it's been more now than it has in the past. Last night I went to Game On out here on Long Island, and actually they were doing a TurboGrafx night, TurboGrafx 16, even though the game I beat was not TurboGrafx. I never actually sat down, just real quick to mention, a friend of mine, Robbie, if you listen somehow to the podcast, it'd be awesome if you did, and I'm giving you a shout out. He was the only kid I knew in the neighborhood who had a TurboGrafx 16. And even then I was like, what the hell is this? So Game On, someone sold back just a library of games, systems. We were using the Turbo Duo.
Oh, nice.
And someone on Facebook. Yeah, so the shout out here, it took me a moment to find his name, Jack Fawley over there on the Better Half podcast page talked about Turbo Duo versus Turbo Duo R. But it was very cool to play TurboGrafx games. Jackie Chan on TurboGrafx, actually amazing.
Really?
But the game I beat, because while they were doing that, I'm like, you know what? Let me try and beat Jaws, and I did finally on the NES.
Hey, congratulations!
Yes. It was funny because I started. You can watch it on our Facebook page. You can watch the end of it on our Instagram page, both Retro Gamers Podcast. I started recording like halfway into it because I didn't think I was just playing for fun. And when I finally started realizing I think I may have a chance here, that's when I started recording. And even that was 20-something minutes.
Well, and now you finally graduated to the Jaws game that's on Xbox.
No, I gotta get to the PS2 one first.
Oh, is there a PS2 one?
There is a PS2 which I bought for the host of the Yin and Yang podcast, and he never paid me for it nor picked it up. So now
bad yin. Bad yin.
But here's the funny thing, because I never even got up to that level with the final part with the boat. I never even got that far.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't know you had to press the button to get Jaws out of the water. Which essentially, and I never saw Jaws 4. You got to shock Jaws. That's what happens. They shock Jaws, comes out of the water, and then you hit him. So I'm sitting there for like a few seconds. I'm like, back and forth with Jaws. I'm like, when the hell is he going to pop up? And then finally I'm like, maybe I have to do it. And then that's when I discovered it. It took me a couple of shots to get through that mission.
Yes, I did
that
see.
Level. Yep, but finally beat it. And even though the first part, maybe the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes wasn't recorded, I am going to say this, I didn't die the entire game. One life. The only one hit I got was when I had the submarine. I got hit, and then luckily I found the submarine again. So I'm really impressed with my game.
And you know what? I'm very happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jaws is one of those games I can't tell you how many times I've beaten it. But
Jaws, it gets such garbage reviews a lot of times where people don't like it, but it's a fun game to play.
Oh no, it's I always call that game a guilty pleasure.
Absolutely.
And the reason why it may not be it doesn't people don't think it's a great game is you can beat it in about 15 minutes. You can, you know.
The speed run I think is like 8 minutes, even though supposedly they were watching last night someone speed run it in 4, but I think that was way.
Well, whatever it is, but like I guess in a regular person, you know, roughly like 15 minutes.
Well, I did about a half hour, so
yeah. So you know, but for a first time, I go that's pretty damn good.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
yeah. Me, I've beaten it so many times that I've gotten it down to like 15, 16 minutes because I streamed it.
You did, yep.
With the Victims and Villains stream in August. And that was one of the games I beat in like, you know, and I beat it in I think 16 or 17 minutes. So
I'm ready to play it again and be faster.
Just play it again. You know, that's how you get faster on it. You know, I played through Legend of Zelda recently on online. The first and the second.
Play Zelda.
Why?
Because you are so quick at it, and I know it's all muscle memory.
Well, and you know what's funny is that I'm not that quick at it because I'm actually because playing through a regular Zelda game, like people can beat it in like 30 or 40 minutes. It takes me like a good hour to an hour and a half, and the friggin' second quest took me like 3.5 hours or something like that because I've never really. That was only the second time I played through it.
That's what I was going to ask. Have you ever actually played the second quest?
This was the second time I finished the second quest.
Okay.
But like for the first quest, you know, like I can generally get through the whole thing in about an hour. Mm-hmm. When I'm really sitting down. And you're right, it is muscle memory. After a while, it's just total muscle memory. Although when I get to level 8 and 9, I still get a little confused. I don't know why. But
big levels.
But anyway, yeah. So Jaws, congratulations.
Yep.
We got to move you up in the world to some other games, though.
No, moving on up. So I'm getting
exactly. And then there were moving on from that. So you know, I know we're closing up here, but really quickly, I did some shopping in LA because I found Book Off, and I talked about this last week. Book Off is a store that I started going to in Japan, but I found a couple of them here in LA. And last weekend I swung over there and picked up a few games.
Okay.
The only one that I really want to point out, because I picked up WWF Raw for Game Gear, which I didn't know existed until I saw it there. So I was like, let me grab that. I picked up Lion King for Game Gear. Which is cool. And again, I picked up all of these now because my Retro Freak plays Game Gear games. So I'm like, now I can play Game Gear games, which is great. I was like, but the crown jewel for me that I found last week had to be a copy of Kung Fu. Now, I already owned Kung Fu for the NES, right? Mm-hmm. But I found Kung Fu in its original packaging.
Ooh.
And
nice.
And it's in pretty damn good shape.
It's got some love to it, but you're right. It's in very good shape.
It's in really good shape, and on top of getting that, you know, I got the cartridge, and the label label's in great shape. It's got the sleeve. I was like, but you know how much of a completionist I am with my games, so I was uber shocked to find the instruction booklet.
Not very good quality
in like perfect condition, and you can see, you know, how they explain everybody in here. Not only did it have the instruction booklet, I'm not done yet, but it had the advertisement for Nintendo Power still in it.
Wow.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep. And look, you can fill out the form still and send it in.
Call that number.
Yep. And not only was all of that in there, but whoever turned this in, I'm sorry. I'm very happy that you did, because I got the original Nintendo poster that came in the cartridges, and now you're playing with Power Poster. Wow. And this thing looks like it was never unfolded.
Look at that! The only creases in there are the folds.
Yeah. So, and how much did I get it for?
I'm gonna say maybe $100.
$13.99.
Are you kidding me?
$13.99 for a complete copy of Kung Fu with everything in its packaging.
Holy cow! I think the only thing missing was usually they had like the foam piece.
Foam piece is in the bottom. Foam piece is in there. Here, look. Just to,
I believe you.
You know, I know you guys are listening to us. Most people are listening to us, but I just want to show Larry that the foam piece is still in there.
Holy cow!
So.
That is the definition of a steal.
Yeah, I really couldn't believe it. I was I opened the box and went through it, and I said, "No." I was like, $13.99. I'm like, sold.
Oh,
that was
absolutely.
a no-brainer. But that was my big purchase for the week.
All right. Well, I was at Game On to play some TurboGrafx 16 games, but do you really think I walked out of there unscathed?
Nope.
Absolutely.
Never do.
Absolutely.
And by the way, this is why I'm going to win the Virtual Boy contest, which we haven't brought up in a few weeks.
Well, I do have to admit as well, with the purchase, and you're going to see what I purchased here in a moment, I actually did a little bit of a trade-in.
Oh.
So I did sell some games back.
Okay.
Which I'll explain
so
in a moment.
So you did not spend as much?
Not as much, no.
Okay.
So first, as always, Game On, they're very, very kind to me. These things they actually kind of gave me. I guess they're worth nothing, but just kind of cool. This was part of the Nintendo Club Nintendo, I should say, where you can, buy. Oh, I'm going to mention something in a moment about that as well. Anyway, It is a 18 card case 18, which will hold 18 3DS games, and it's in basically a 3DS case.
Very nice.
Very nice. So they gave that to me.
And not retro, so that doesn't go to your tally.
No, very cool. This is not retro. It's a reproduction, but, and I haven't opened it yet, so because I don't know if I want to. We all know Nintendo actually started in the late 1800s.
Yes.
As these rice cards. And this is reproduction of those original rice cards that Nintendo originally put out.
That's really cool. That I like.
And I'm not sure. He thinks it came. Well, it's from Nintendo, as you can see. Tristan said it's probably from the Club Nintendo. I don't think it is. I think just something that was sold over there in Japan. So those two things are really cool. What I want to mention real quick about Club Nintendo, actually, Ant, if I may, on your personal Facebook page, you had posted a story, and we're not going to get into it, but a story about how iTunes movies are disappearing from people's iTunes.
Yes.
Interesting to read, is what it is. But it led to a discussion where I was really the only one, I'm all in on digital, as everyone knows. I'm kind of over short of the old stuff.
Yes.
The new stuff, A, I have no room to store anything, and B, I just find it more convenient. You still like the physical media.
Yes.
I get it. It's awesome. The NES, the Nintendo Switch Online is $20 a year.
Yeah.
When you buy games for the Nintendo Switch, there is a little bit of like a buyback program, where when you put the game in, you can quote unquote register the game, and then you get with the physical media, you get 1% back of the going price of the game, which you can use towards downloads, percentage off games. If you go to Club Nintendo, you know what it's all about.
Okay.
When you download the digital games, you actually get 5% back on the game that you pay. Also, with first-party games, Super Mario Party's doing it, and Mario Tennis Aces did it, where if you because you can pre-download and pre-purchase the game, where it downloads the game, but you can't play it till launch, you get bonus coins. You get bonus back, so you get extra stuff.
Okay.
And it's like each gold coin is a penny. Long story short, I had purchased so many digital games that instead of $20 for this year for me, I'm only paying $10.
Oh,
I
nice.
got half off.
Very nice.
Service. So it has some perks to it with
and,
the digital.
And you know what? I mean, and I'm not going to knock it. It's one of those things where it's just, yes,
I get it.
I totally get the digital thing. It's just that servers crash, the agreements expire and things happen. So my concern will always be, especially now when we're getting to the age of Disney is creating their own streaming service, right? Apple's getting their own streaming service. Everybody's starting to make their own streaming services. At what point will they pull things away and say, well, you purchased this through Vudu, you purchased this through this, but now that we're taking it back, we have the rights and you can't own it there anymore. So that's always my concern.
And that's already happened with me, actually. Just real fast. Then we'll move on because I got a couple things to show. The Star Wars, the original 6.
Yep.
I mean, they're all available. There's this thing where it's called Movies Anywhere, where you buy a movie in one spot and you can actually access it. Like I could buy it on iTunes, I can get it on Vudu, I can get it on Google Play, all this stuff. Which kind of doesn't make sense because I have hooked up to TVs. No, not really. In any event, but it's available. So for the longest, I bought when they came out digital. The first time they came out digital was the 6 Star Wars, the original 6 Star Wars. Got all 6 of them. They were available on iTunes and on Vudu. I bought it through Vudu. Then, 6 months later, A New Hope, technically the first release Star, we all know. A New Hope was not available on my iTunes.
Oh.
The other 5 were, but not A New Hope. New Hope was still available for me on Vudu because that's where I bought it.
But not on iTunes.
When I asked about it, and this is when the program was very limited to a very small. They've expanded it since then, but it was a very small limited group. They said because iTunes or that particular movie, the distribution rights changed to a company that didn't partake in that program. So that's why now the other 5 stayed, but for some reason A New Hope.
You lost A New Hope.
Was unavailable. Only lost it on iTunes. I can still play it on Vudu.
Right.
So it's weird, but
yeah, it's weird. It's just something to be cognizant of when you decide to ditch the physical for the digital. Like these are potential issues that could be coming up down the road. And when I say down the road, I'm talking soon, because everybody's starting to separate into their own services.
All right. So to go back real quick, then we'll get ready to wrap this up. I did buy 2 more things. First of all, which is I'm starting. This is pretty cool. Long story short, it's a gold Mega Man pop.
Oh, that's awesome.
This was very cool.
I love that.
I also have a black and white Mega Man pop that designed like this, and not here, but I think I have also the regular blue Mega Man pop.
Okay.
So this was actually a little more expensive. I don't want to give away the prices, but this was actually a little more expensive than I thought it was.
Okay.
Worth it. No,
that's a really cool pop. I'm not buying pop vinyls and pop figures anymore because I just don't have space. I know you have like 1 million of them.
I probably have over 230 of them, and I'm getting ready to sell a bunch of them because for a while I was just buying to get exclusives.
Yep.
Now I'm just getting the ones I want.
There you go. That's just a smart way to go.
And I need to sell them hopefully to offset everything. And then I'll just let the visual speak for itself.
Oh, you got your hands on it.
This is it.
Shining Force 3 for the Sega Saturn.
The U.S. Shining Force 3. I've been waiting for... When did this game come out?
Now that goes against your retro purchase.
I have no problem with that.
And how much was it?
Game came out in 1998. The reason why I don't want to say the price is I'm not ducking it on purpose. It's just I get some good deals. So that's all I want to say.
Well, we'll talk offline.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
But the price is still within range.
Right. But that is awesome. And I would I've been trying to get my hands on that game too because I want to live stream my first experience playing Shining Force 3, and I have a Sega Saturn sitting here thanks to my cousin Michael. Thank you again, Michael. Yep. So that is definitely like number 1 on my list.
Now, here's the thing. Now, of course, those watching on YouTube realize there's no manual.
Yes.
Where those on audio now know there's no manual. I've been going to GameStop since December of 2017.
Okay.
This game has come through there twice. And I missed the first one by moments. I missed the first one, which was complete. And from what I understand, complete is like $250, give or take.
I've seen unopened versions for $1,200.
I believe it. Yeah. And you know what? Well worth it in my opinion.
Yep.
I wouldn't buy an unopened one.
Me neither.
Well worth it. I would buy one with I would have spent $250 if it had the manual. But there's no manual in this one, but the guys over at Game On, they're nice enough, they're going to be on the lookout for a manual.
Awesome.
Which I'll probably still have to pay a penny for.
Of course.
But well worth it. But,
also check eBay.
Yes, no, I'm going to. I'm going to look around. But just the fact that now I have the game. This was we talked about Crown Jewels, what do we call it?
Yeah.
Hidden Gem, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
So this is it. This was the one I'm looking for. And to be honest with you, now I'm happy. I'm good to go with my spending right now.
I was going to say, you've got the 2 that I want. You've got Shining Force 3 and Shining Force CD for Sega CD. And I got to get my hands on both of those.
I'm still not 100% sure if they both work, but one day when I get the Polymega in April,
I was going to say, you couldn't test them at Game On?
I didn't have time. He didn't have a Saturn available, so. Okay. But I trust it.
All right. Well, you know what? I mean, that is awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I'm so happy.
And then, are you done with your shopping?
For the year, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Just really quickly, I know again this is like the longest wrap up we've ever done, but I've been cleaning out my house and I've been trying to, I've set up my studio for the Retro Gamers podcast, which I still haven't debuted yet. Because I'm still trying to work out the kinks with Skype and my laptop and whatnot. But I was going through all of my stuff, and I came across something that I wanted to share. And I think, and you know I have these. I've talked about these before. But I wanted to share them because they're going to go up on my wall for when I podcast. I used to work at the company who created the Super Mario Brothers Super Show and the cartoon. So Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario's 3, Legend of Zelda, all the cartoons. Deke Entertainment was the name of the company. And they made these back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yep.
So, and when they shut down, I was given the task of having to clean out the place. Clean out the artwork, the artist studio.
So, and by that you mean just back your car up to the front door.
Well, they literally told me to throw out all the art. And I'm like, that's all they said. The company that bought us turned around and said, we want to turn this room into offices, throw everything out. And I'm like, okay. And I did exactly what you said. I opened up the trunk, and in everything went. So, but I just wanted to share these lovely Super Mario Brothers animated. Now this one doesn't look. This one's just an image. This is just a print of the Super Mario Brothers animated show.
Still very nice,
which is super cool. Okay, that's just one thing. However, now this, if I'm looking at it correctly, this is also an image from Super Mario Brothers 3.
Ooh, is that like a cell?
I can't tell if this one is a cell or not. It might be.
Whoa, man, that's cool.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
Now, and again, I'm sorry for people who are listening and aren't seeing this, but that was a cell. It could be a cell. I don't think it is, though. I think it's just an image.
All right, fair enough.
From the Super Mario Brothers 3.
Still awesome.
Animated show. Now, this one, though, this is a cell. And not only is it a cell, but it's a cell from the open of Captain N, the Game Master.
Oh, wow.
So, and on this cell, you've got Captain N. Oh. You got Simon Belmont from Castlevania.
Yeah.
You've
Very
got,
tanned.
Yep, you got Kid Icarus.
Yep.
Mega Man.
Who apparently defeated Booger Man with that color scheme.
Yeah, with the color scheme. And then, is that Zelda? I don't know if that was Zelda. Who else was in the show?
I don't know if that was Zelda or
somebody else.
It was somebody else.
And then the dog, I honestly don't know where the dog is.
The dog, I think, was his dog.
Okay.
That
Captain N's dog.
With...
So anyway, so it's a group shot, and it's the animated cell for that.
That's awesome.
And then, last but not least, I showed you. Oh, you know what? I showed you that Super Mario Brothers 3 image. This is the cell for that image.
Cell. That I can
this
tell
is an
right
animated
now.
cell, and you can see it. It's the original because back in the day, animation was done with painted cells. So this is an original painted cell from Super Mario Brothers 3. So I just wanted to share those really quickly because those will be going up on my wall. Which will be part of my backdrop for when my podcast for my actual studio.
And I got to say, you also gifted, I guess if I'm allowed to say, a cool poster. It's not a cell, but it's a cool poster, the Super Mario Brothers Super Show poster. It's like that thick foam.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot that.
Yep. I still have, unfortunately, there's no way to well, I can buy a frame now, but cool. Real quick, that princess is Princess Lana, who's actually the princess of Videoland.
Okay, thank you.
That he ends up in, so
thank you for that update. But I just wanted to share those, and No,
that's very cool.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And that's all I got for this week.
That works. I think that's all we have this week. Coming up, what do we have coming up? You hitting any shows or anything?
There is actually this will have already passed by the time the episode drops, but at Union Station, the Union train station here in LA, on this weekend, September 22nd and 23rd, they're doing a retrocade experience where they're going to have 40 arcade cabinets at the train station for you to play. And Union Station here is kind of like Grand Central Station in New York.
Okay.
So there's like one big major room. Now, granted, it's a lot smaller than Grand Central, of course, but there's this one big major room, basically, and in that room, in that ticketing, the main ticketing lobby area, whatever, they're going to have these 40 arcade cabinets. So I'm going to be hitting that up tomorrow. I'll post images on Facebook and whatnot. There's also a SoCal Retro Gaming Expo swap meet tomorrow on Sunday the 23rd as well. So I may be posting pictures from that if I make it there. I don't know if I'm going to, but those are the two things that I have going on at the moment.
Very cool. As far as with the retro gamers, I don't have anything really until I actually head to LA in November.
Oh wow. Well, and when you get here in November, we're gonna have to see if there are any other events going on. Also next month, I may be getting some games from a new country because I am going to China next month.
Oh boy! All right.
So we may be finding out what the gaming situation is over in China.
Yeah. So probably all the same.
I'm sure it is, but you know what? It would be even if I just buy one game to say I own a game from China. I'm like, it's what I did in Italy when I bought I bought The Hobbit in a GameStop in Italy just to say I had it. It was Le Hobbit.
Le Hobbit.
So just picking up a game from any country that I visit to now is a thing for me. No more systems from other countries, unless it's unique to that country. Then I'll consider it. But I'm trying to avoid that.
China is probably some sort of weird knockoff. But no, that's cool. Enjoy your trip. You will not be able to Skype from China. I know that for a fact.
No. There will be. When I go to China, there'll be no Skyping. But we'll record. We'll record before I go.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
And then after that, immediately after that, I will be flying from China to New York for the weekend because that is the weekend I'll be in for my 40th. Oh,
that's when you're going. Okay.
I'm going the week before I come to New York.
All right, cool. We'll try and do.
Can't wait for the jet lag.
Well, you're used to it by now.
I don't have a time zone anymore.
It's Anthony Zone. That's what it is.
That's right. Welcome to the Rippo Zone.
It's gonna be fun when you come in October. Well, I mean, I know you're gonna be busy, so we'll see. We may not have time.
Well, you're gonna see me for all of it, pretty much.
Mostly, yeah, most of it. Yeah, we can record at the party.
That is, I was actually gonna consider that.
Really? But that's up to you.
No, that's up to you.
Try if you want to. Well, I don't care. All right, cool. And then when we come out in November, we'll do some stuff.
Yes.
They broke ground for the Los Angeles Barcade, so see what that's all about.
Yeah, but when you come out, we'll hit up Game Dude. We'll hit up Retro Game Camp.
Yep.
We'll see if there's anything going on that weekend. So we got stuff coming up. Bottom line is there's stuff happening.
And with the stuff that we're already doing, thankfully, it's all in the afternoon. Late afternoon, early evening with all the wrestling, so we actually have time, unlike out here.
Exactly.
Cool. With that, I think that's about it. I think we're done.
I'm spent. I have to. It's time to go.
I'm tired. I'm hungry. Folks, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, follow us Facebook and Instagram everywhere at Retro Gamers Podcast. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating, please. The more ratings we get, the more people will hear us. And I think the YouTube is also Retro Gamers Podcast.
YouTube is Retro Gamers Podcast as well. You can check out. We now post our podcast in video form on YouTube. So if you want to watch us instead of just listening to us, that's cool. Honestly, with our two faces, it's perfectly fine if you just listen to us.
And of course, give us the feedback. Email at theretrogamers.com. And with that, Anthony, have a wonderful week.
You too.
Thank you very much. And
we'll do
as
this
always,
again.
everyone. Yes, definitely. We'll do it right here next week on the Retro Gamers Podcast.